Alt 2. Ah, my camera position's moved slightly, and my exposure's gone funny. Hello, everybody! Hopefully you can all hear me, and this is Bakobiibizo.
You got it. Just call me Backo. It's all good.
This week, Isha is on holiday, so if you're in chat, wish her a happy holiday, and I hope she's having a wonderful time. Before we get started as well, I'd like to remind everyone that next week we have ILBC live in Lost Horizons, Bristol. And it'll be the first example of the live competition thing that ILBC has been building up to for months at this point. It is the first round, with the others being in a Barcelona round. I think there's one in New York, and then there's a virtual one as well. And basically, we've got 5 contestants. I was just loading up the Instagram here to remember their names because I suck at names. So, contestant number 1 is Off Peak. Number 2 is Drum. Sorry for if I'm butchering everybody's names tonight. That's going to be how this rolls. And hey, Alfie. Hello, chat. Hello, everybody. We've got Ashcat as contestant number 3. Beelzebub. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Beelzebub. Contestant number 4. Cool, and Daniel McPhee, contestant number 5. Alongside that, there's also a few showcase acts, including Freer, Matt Black, Stirs, and Gramsci, and I feel like there's one more in here, but I can't see the thingy. And there's maybe going to be a couple other surprise ones along the way. I'm not sure entirely how the submission process for that one's working. But either way, it's going to be a blast. So it's going to be live streamed here on ILBC TV. Yeah, I haven't been able to work out how to get Discord chat overlay working on my end. I know it works on Mac, but I haven't been able to figure out how it works on Windows, which is helpful. So if you want to be seen on the overlay, please come check us on the Twitch and talk there. You will show up there. Thank you. But either way, I will also be in Bristol. It's going to be a great time. And yeah, make sure you're tuned in then. It'll start around 7. And there's a workshop on to do with Jam Pro that app Matt Black is working on right now. That's going to be a lot of fun too, hopefully. So yeah, that's your little news bulletin update. Tune in next week, yes. Obviously, tune in now too, but you're already watching, hopefully. So anyway, I'm going to now hand you over to Bako here to introduce himself a little bit before we get on with everyone's tracks and hear what you've been up to. Thank you. Let's go.
Thanks a lot for having me on here. This is very exciting for me. I have been a fan of this stream since I started making music, which wasn't too long ago. I think I'm coming up to a year now. But I basically picked this up and then basically what happened is I play piano, so I've been playing piano for probably like 5 or 6 years. I picked it up a DAW just to try and add the audio and video together. And I realized that that's how you make techno and trance music, which I've been listening to since I was like 12. And I've been hooked ever since. So I've done nothing but make music for almost an entire year straight, like 4 to 8 hours a day.
Damn, that's intense.
Yeah,
I've certainly never been that level of committed to music production.
Nah, I'm pretty into it right now.
So, well, thank you for introducing yourself. Feel free to plug your socials in the chat as well. Has everyone else been able to hear that? Just because, I mean, this is the first time running this setup. Yep, everything seems to be fine. Okay, so first up we have QKey. Now, I'm a fan of QKey. They've been amazingly impressive growth in their production values and everything over the last year or so since I first got introduced to them, and lots of cool ideas, so I'm expecting this will be no different. The volume is a bit low, I think. Okay, well, I will just tweak that. 2 seconds then before we get started. You guys are getting that one. Alright, maybe that's a little bit louder. If you're not redlining, you're not headlining. Hello. Alright, well, we'll just see how this goes. If it's still a little bit quiet,
let me know. I can always turn my gain up on my end, too.
Yeah. Alright. So, we've got Summer Vibes by QKey. Burp. Okay. So, we'll read a little bit of the comments here. Enderman says, I'm not quite a fan of the snare sound being used there. Just Blanket says, it might be a little bit repetitive. And hopefully I haven't muted I should still be going. I don't know. But there could be some structure variety. Maybe some small elements here and there. You want to say the catchphrase?
Oh, ear candy?
Ear candy. I don't have the fancy graphics. Just a second. If you're in chat, you use the link queue to summon the queue, Real Stringy. And then it's the form there, so that's fun, and I have access to that in my thingy. So it did felt very mono, and that's definitely not a sound issue on my end. Do you have were you feeling the summer vibes there, Bako?
I could see the potential in the song, that there's like I like the groove of it, and then and I really like sort of like the melodic elements, but the low end sounds like really floppy to me, so it needs a little bit more tightening up, and there's a little bit of resonance build up. I also think that my audio is weird because it sounded like I was being played from like a computer speaker or something, and I went and double checked the audio on the link, and it sounds a lot better there, so I might just listen through the links.
That's annoying. I don't know why that should be the case. I mean, we had this with someone else as well. I mean, where the signal degraded and it just sort of compressed it at your end, even though it should be...
Yeah, because it sounded super heavily compressed, and that was going to be one of my comments, and then I'm like,
no, it's even now you're
like
starting.
It needs compression.
It sounds like you're pixelating now as well. Like I can see you pixelating a bit, so maybe your connection's not as stable to me as we would have hoped. Oh well, I mean, we'll try and figure it out as we go.
Okay.
So I mean, for me, I felt like it's the start of an idea, obviously, and I think it is an early whip from what I can tell. I think for me the biggest thing here is finding a sort of hook for the idea, because right now you've got all the sort of the nice chord progression and you've got the general sound palette, and for the most part it works. The next thing is deciding which bit is your real hooky bit to sort of really make sure people want to come back to the track, because it sort of just keeps going and then kind of comes back, lowers energy and simplifies itself, but it doesn't really give us any reason to build back up again, which is obviously something to work on and can take time. I mean, some people start a song with their drop or their hook or whatever and then build everything else around it, but it's totally okay working your other way around. I mean, it's okay. The people saying that they're not able to participate because they're at work. I mean, well, we appreciate the fact that
quit
you're
your job.
Considering.
This is very important.
This is very important. Quit your job. Yeah, this is not financial advice. So I mean, yeah, right now I mean, bring booze to the Twitch chat. God, Telekin. I mean, I'm sorry I can't display the Discord chat. I'm still not sure why it's not working. But I think overall it's just a case of making sure you know what the point of your song is. And for summer vibes, maybe even have a look at adding in more sounds that are associated with summer. You know? I mean, a lot of... You could always go pan flutes.
Oh gosh, pan flute. Yeah, I mean, it is associated with summer.
I'm
not sure if I recommend pan flutes.
No, I'm not sure. They're a bit cringe.
But even some like atmospheric stuff, like the ocean sounds and birds and stuff like that, like...
Yeah, that sort of Foley is always nice.
A little bit of Foley.
So, I mean, it was a good, solid intro to the stream. Thank you for sending that in, Kuki. And sorry for my relative lack of smoothness compared to Isha's normal hosting. But let's go. We've got Corvu on now with Wrong Path, work in progress. They have asked for any feedback, really. So let's go. Hopefully this comes in okay.
Cool track.
So, I've been asking whether there's an intention for a vocal line on it, and Corvu says that sounds like a good idea in response. I mean, you could, obviously that's not really a requirement with hip hop. There's plenty of instrumental hip hop out there, but it definitely needs something to sort of bind everything together at this point. Bako, were you vibing to that one?
Yeah, I like the overall vibe of it. The low end sort of feels empty and needs a little bit more like stuff, like sort of like what I would suggest is like a little bit of distortion on your like 808 or kick or whatever kind of kick you're using, and then like some white noise on your snare just to make it a little bit more bigger. But I'm not sure if you're leaning towards like hip hop and R&B style stuff, or if you're leaning towards like it almost sounds like it's oh my gosh, what's my future bass or something like that. But it definitely needs a lead element of some variety.
Kuki says they could see this as background music in some kind of action movie, sneaking around and taking down guards. And yeah, I could see that working. I also kind of agree with where was it? Amendment, where they're saying the metallic synth in like that second bit where everything started changing up. I think it's a really cool sound, but it definitely needs to be more aggressive. And you could end up doing that in a parallel processing chain, probably. Keep the kind of soft metallic bits underneath there, and then have a duplicate layer that's more distorted. So that then you get that edginess to it, while still... Because, I mean, the problem sometimes with distortion and saturation is... you can end up sort of being too crazy with it. Like, you know, it can take the nice bits of the sound out. So if you do it in 2 layers or 2 chains, split back in and then come back in later, you can basically finesse it a little bit more. I mean, it's a really swaggery beat so far. And it could maybe even do with perhaps some one-shots, because a lot of the stuff you've got now is very much just... the same elements over and over again, repeated, while occasionally you might want to end a bar with some sort of vocal chop, or you know, a lot of old school hip hop likes using grunts and vocalizations. That's right, they are. And what's your username in the Discord chat? Rolly. I don't know if you're watching. These are all recorded, and the VOD will be on the ILBC Twitch, and it'll be on my channel this week because I'm not dumping this stuff on Isha's. So I mean, I think that right now you've got all the bones. The actual track itself moves along at a fair pace. It's just about making sure that you've got all the individual elements that you need to sort of make it punchy and dynamic. Because right now it doesn't have a huge amount of dynamics. Obviously, it's not mastered either, because I mean, I ended up having to turn it up, but that's a whip. That's normal. That's fine. But it's more arrangement so dynamics, arrangement intensity that is currently lacking. And
you can go in a couple different directions too.
Yeah, like, that's also true.
I would try and pick a genre and like go towards it. Like if you want to go towards like that kind of aggressive, like John Wick fight scene style thing, like literally pull up the music from his videos or from his movies and just like use them as references. If you're gonna go for something a little bit smoother, then find a reference that matches.
So hopefully you figure out what your lead element is. Good luck with that, and thank you for sending it in. It was very cool. So up next we have another Burb. This is a track by White Raven, Hearts of Fission. And right now they're looking for general advice on balancing each instrument. So when you're listening, Bako, please keep an ear out for things you think might be in balance and how you might fix them.
Okay.
Alright, let's go, everybody. So that was Hearts of Fission by White Raven. I agree, Evelyn. It was indeed nice harmonies. Bako, listening to that, have you been making some notes by some chance?
Oh, of course. I always write down notes when I'm listening to people critically.
Okay, well,
I just like stream of thought as I go.
Fair enough. Okay, well, let's hear the stream of thought then.
I noticed that there was like a little bit of resonance buildup, so I tried to like make a small cut at like 10 to 2K. It sounds like a little bit. The lead synths are sounding a little bit tinny and harsh. I think the really high end needs a little bit of a boost, but not by a lot, just a tiny bit. And then I think in terms of dynamics, the that break that you have is really great, and that melodic sound is really nice. I think you should boost the melodic sound and just almost entirely drop that lead bass sound that you have, because it would create a bigger dynamic between the sections. Because otherwise, it sounds fairly flat. Because the lead bass never really goes out, right? And also it would make really good video game music.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening with the. I mean, I
can turn up mine a little bit.
Yeah, turn yours up a little bit, maybe. And alright, maybe that's a little bit better. I don't know. It's hard getting this balancing right across the internet.
Yeah. Alicia has had the experience of like multiple streams to get it all worked out.
Yeah, it's and this is the first time my I mean, even now I'm hearing yours dropped down to mono for a second there, which was interesting. I was trying to work out with. I mean, it's I expect my internet doesn't like this very much either.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, at least the way when it comes to balancing, it sounded like you weren't necessarily carving up enough of your stereo field, and also perhaps I don't know what you're listening on, but it sounds like they're maybe not reproducing the bass in the correct way. Maybe they're exaggerating your bass frequency response a lot, because Bako sounds like they live in a chorus plugin.
Like I'm in a chorus plugin?
I mean, yeah, it's sounding a little bit. That's what I'm getting from your end too. I'm still not sure entirely why. Must be something about the stream.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on.
It's alright. It's not your fault. I mean, oh well, we'll just make do for now.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, as long as everybody can hear everybody, it's the best we can do right now, I think. And there's no echo, so that's always something.
Yeah, I just loaded my my audio out with a bunch of chorus effects. That's what we'll go with, right?
But like, I mean, you like here, and it's sort of like you got your wobby bass in the middle, and then sort of everything else is only occupying one extra level out in your ears, like in your left and right side, and you're kind of just only working in that 2 levels when you should be even more split up and divergent. And there's stereo. The queue is still open if people are asking, so my brain is not working apparently either, so this is great.
There's a really good exercise for working with stereo fields that I liked a lot, that if you make a copy of your mix and then just pull all of your balancing out, and then just have try to have only like one thing in the like one thing other than obviously your drums and stuff in the middle, and then hard pan everything else, and see if you can get a really good mix doing that, and that'll help you like see what you can do with the stereo field, because it's pushing you outside of what you would normally do. Obviously don't print it as that mix because it's more of an exercise, but it's a good one.
Also, there are people asking whether there are any hi-hats in the track, and as far as I can tell, I didn't hear any hi-hats at all.
I don't think so.
It obviously is a bit difficult right now when your track's so busy. Like there's everything else is kind of all competing, so adding more stuff in won't help. So don't do that immediately.
No.
But once you've made the room, I would definitely recommend looking at it as you can add them obviously as on the beat, and you can add them in a more faster cadence, like 16th hi-hats, or in transition points go all the way up to 32 divisions of your beat, and get crazy with it. It's actually one of the easier ways to add variety into your track, because you don't have, especially with this sort of cyberpunky mid-tempo stuff, it means you don't have to distort the main beat. And get it out of that rigid rhythm. You can just sort of go ham with your external percussion that's going around it, and that adds your variety in. Definitely make room for the bass, more bass, yes, because it was definitely lacking a bit of sub response as well, especially. So but first, just sort of do everything one by one, I think, and see whether you can move it around the space a little bit better and make some room, because that would it definitely has a lot of potential, that track. Anything else, Becca?
No, I think that's about it.
Okay, so hopefully this will work okay. We're on to Mushroom Clouds. This track better be trippy with the name that. Collective Consciousness. Alright, let's go.
With a name like that, I feel like it will be.
That was, as everyone in the comments is saying, definitely an old school wubby dub track. Bako, do you like old school wub?
I honestly have never really listened to a lot of old school wub. I only started listening to wub at all like way back in the day when Skrillex was like first starting to make it, but I think it was a little bit more advanced than that. Yeah, so no. But yeah, no, it's cool. It's a pretty cool little beat. The only thing or the main thing that I see with it is that there's nothing that drives the song forward. So there's no there's a really large section in the middle where you have almost no percussion, and it really seems a lot longer than it is. And I think that you need something. Maybe it's a lead, maybe it's more percussion, but something to drive the song along.
I mean, for me, I think with these sort of things, I mean, I don't generally listen to a lot of dub either, so I'm not necessarily in my expertise range. But from the stuff we've been submitted on the streams, that works best, I think, in its context, is when you use those minimal sections to start playing around with your sounds a little bit more. So like your wubs can come in and out of that sub range and warble around a little bit higher up and get a little bit spacier and a little bit trippier. And then that sort of becomes the variety without having to introduce an entirely new sound. You're just automating the sounds that you already have. And I mean, from what I can tell, a lot of that goes back to the old school fact that this was to be played and spun on, you know, traditional vinyl, and it was the showmanship of the people with the decks that added a lot of the spice to these tracks. But obviously, it doesn't mean you can't steal from that for modern production. You can do what you want and have fun with it. For me, I think that bell sound, that was maybe a little bit too samey. I mean, it almost sounded like it wanted to be an organic sample, but it just is the same timbre quality for the entire track. So I mean, I'd have a look at maybe seeing how you can vary that up, either with something like an echo delay kind of thing, or change the resonance curve as you go along, to sort of make it feel more like it's a device being played, like a steel drum or a blowpipe or something along those lines, you know, where every impact and every puff is not identical. I think maybe also playing with the velocity of your MIDI input will help there a little bit, because they are all kind of hitting the same. The notes may be different, but they still feel identical. And when you're doing something that's minimal, obviously you have to make sure every element itself has enough spice and variety to really make it work. Because obviously you don't want to stack more in. It's not a case of just keep stacking elements and then it'll work, then it's no longer minimal, and that's no fun. But I mean, it's again, I mean, this is the third track in a row where the idea is solid. Or fourth track. What track are we up to now? Fourth. Can't count anymore apparently. The idea is solid. It's just about finessing into the final form. You know, the overall balance of the mix is fine, and it's just about making sure every element has enough strength on its own to really push the track along.
Yeah, one thing you should try doing also is letting your bass out of mono, because when you move up to the higher octaves, you'll want it not in mono as well, so it can add variety that way.
Good shout. Next up, we have Alfie. If you give me 2 seconds, because I've got to paste a different link. Yay! We love pasting different links. And then for people asking if where is the lovely Alicia, she is currently on holiday, so taking a well-deserved break for the moment. I hope she's having a good time.
Yeah, you're stuck with me.
Stuck with Bako. Oh no! How dare we have someone who's inferior? I'm joking. You're not inferior. We've got someone taking that one out of context now, and
I'm totally fine being inferior to Alicia. She's amazing.
Me too. Okay. Well, in reality, I think this song's title says it all. You're on the level, Bako. On the Level, cover by Alfie.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a tricky bugger.
I forgot to unmute myself
Oh,
as well. Oh, you're. Why are you echoing? You shouldn't be echoing. Weird. Speak.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it still sounds like you're in a chorus for some reason. I have no idea what's going on with that, because there shouldn't be any weird loop back on my end, or your end, or any end. Oh well. So, did that get you on the level?
I'm not sure what that means. Oh, it's the name of the song.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I always wind up getting the same kind of feedback whenever, because I also will do covers of songs and try to make like exact replicas of them. Not because I want to try to release them or claim them as my own, but because you learn a lot about music when you do that, and production and what it takes to make things interesting. And it sounds very samey, and the like lead synth is very repetitive, but like if you made it exactly the same as the original, that's the way that it is. So it's dependent on how true to the original you are. But the synth is definitely a little bit harsh in the high end, so I would definitely take a look at trying to cut that out. And there's a little bit of mud going on in there as well, so take a look at the low end.
I mean, for me as well, I'm also very excited because Alfie has been spending a lot of time telling me I can't sing, I'm terrible, I have a awful voice. And
that was his vocals?
Yes, I've been told
that was great vocals.
That was you on vocals, Alfie, and I'm really impressed. Keep going, you're good. Just don't, lack the confidence. I think with this one as well, I mean, it would actually be useful to maybe pull them up a little bit because they did sound a little bit quiet in relation to everything else. And that's the whole confidence thing, isn't it? If you don't like your own voice, you don't want to hear your own voice more, especially when you're mixing yourself down. It's not very fun. I mean,
it's hard to mix your own voice. I did the same thing. I just buried my voice under my track, and that was exact feedback that I got from you guys.
So, I'd also maybe have a look at that organy synth, because right now, I think as far as any of the bits that are really samey, you can kind of get away with your bass being sort of static in this sort of track. It's a groovy track, a vibey track, and you don't have to have much activity going down in there. But when you've got such a prominent sound like that organ synth, it could do with a little bit more, organy-ish elements. There's an organ's a very imprecise instrument, really, and right now it sounds very surgical. You need to maybe have a look at with maybe a tremolo effect of some kind occasionally. Ramp it in and out to give it, or maybe go with rotary effects, perhaps have it spin around our head a little bit, because I think that would. You like rotary effects?
Yeah, you start throwing an ARP around my head in a circle, and I'm having a great day.
So I mean, and you love chorus in your voice too. I'm hearing it as well, and I don't know why that is. It's hilarious.
Let me double check my audio settings, Solomon.
It's okay. Obviously it's a cover, so I'm not going to critique the overall songwriting because you got to have the words that are in the original song and all that kind of stuff. It's it's a cover song, that's fine. Hopefully we'll be rejoined by Bako in a second. I'm not sure what's happening on his end. It's just a case of finish it, and if you are going to decide to be more authentic to the original, that's fine. But maybe choose a section where you can shake it up a little bit. Usually the best place to do this would be maybe in that final breakdown bridge area before you return to the chorus. I mean, if you're going to have any individualist stamp on it, that would be the moment to do it, because you've shown everyone that you can kind of pull off the original, and that's cool. But then you just sort of say, okay, well, now here's something a little bit spicier, and then everyone can get amazed, and then it'll be more noteworthy as far as covers go, I think.
I just reran through all my settings. Does that sound any better?
It does. I'm not sure what you changed.
I changed it. The video was set to default, and the default was still using my audio interface, but I just manually set it to the audio interface.
Oh, you're back chorusing again. I'm not sure.
Never mind. I don't know what's wrong. I have I have 1 gigabit connection, so it shouldn't be that bad. But
I don't know it might be my computer. I don't know.
No.
It was working the last time we tested it as well, so I have no idea why.
I know.
Typical.
Well, it's when you go live, right? You're actually using up more bandwidth.
Yeah, and oh well. So next up, um, okay, I see, is kilnnova. White Raven, sorry you're. It's okay that you're late. There is a recording of this, so I mean, you'll be able to watch your review later if you'd like. It'll be on the ILBC Twitch channel and on hopefully on my channel. It should be live there, and everyone's getting funny about the idea that I muted myself. It's a big tradition. So next up we've got kilnnova. Endless Nights. Give me 2 seconds to paste over the link. In which channel of the Discord should you share? You don't share there. You use the command exclamation mark link Q to summon the queue. If somebody could do that in the Twitch chat now, that'd be great. And you send it to the forum. Where did your tip go? Oh, I mean, I didn't realize. Sorry, Grades. I will get to you next. Like, we'll do you now then. Sorry. It's the problem is I don't know why I'm not able to look at everything. I don't have enough screen space. I don't know why.
You'll get heard eventually. I wound up submitting the wrong track last week, and then I guess I'm on now, so I eventually will get my song critiqued.
Okay, so well, ignore me about. Sorry, kilnnova. We'll be a second. We'll get back to you next. Grade sent us a tip, and I'm just blind and couldn't see it. So sorry about that. 2 seconds. There we go. Okay. So this is Grades. The title will be appearing in a second because it's a SoundCloudy link with no info in it. So let's see what it says. Your time will come, V2. And Bako, this time please keep an ear out for vocal mixing. Do these added elements and parts improve the song from version 1? Okay, I mean, I'll see if I can.
I'm like vocal processing.
Right, so everybody ready? Let's go. Your time will come by Grades.
I can't follow, it's not the same. It's hard, can't wait, your time will come. It's not the same, not for your name. It's not the same. It's hard, can't wait, your time will come. It's not the same. Wait, your time will come. Follow, follow. Wait, your time will come. Wait, your time will come. I can't follow, it's not the same. It's hard, can't wait, your time will come. It's not the same, not for your name. I can't follow. Wait, your time will come.
Definite improvement on version 1. I actually do remember version 1 after hearing this. So I'm like, what did this one go like? And then it put it on, oh, this one. So, I'm going to let you go first, Bako, if you have some notes about vocal processing here. There were a couple of things I picked out, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts first.
I think it needs to be brought forward a little bit in the stereo field. The vocals are sort of like riding like right around here. So one of the things that I like to do for that is using a little bit of slapback delay or maybe a plate reverb, although it might not really work in this situation. And then play around with a little bit of EQ to try to like bring it forward in the mix. But other than that, the only other thing I'm not sure about is that because of the style of music, I don't know if you want heavily compressed vocals or not, but you could try easing up on the compression a little bit if you want a little bit more dynamics.
I mean, I felt that the vocals might actually be running into the limiter a little bit here, with the high end in them particularly. Because I feel like the raw vocals aren't as sibilant as the actual result. But there's a sharpness there. And I'm pretty sure it's because of, like, you need to cut it out a little bit more just because it's running into your compressor so hard. And it's kind of just making it, I mean, either you pull it back a little bit in that regard, or you just screw around with your EQ a little bit more, or a de-esser just to make it a little bit more soft. Because there were places where it felt, considering everything else is so lush and mellow and soft, it felt a little bit off in that regard. And there are maybe even places where it would have been actually, like towards the end, I noticed you were adding heavily reverbed version of your vocals in the, like as a backing chorus type deal. I don't think that was loud enough. I feel like you could have gone more obvious with it rather than keeping a subtle layer. It would have been okay to sort of have it this big reverb thing, but that like still quieter than your main, of course, but like just bigger than it is presently. But this one's definitely very, very close. I mean, the bass level sounded decent. And the overall progression of the track makes a lot of sense. I would listen to this regularly. It's a cool track.
This is exact kind of vibe that I go for. I listened to nothing but trance and electronic music till my mid-20s when I got a bartending job and I had to start having my own playlists and stuff and listening to other things because nobody else listened to it, at least on Vancouver. And yeah, this is the exact kind of vibe that I went for, like Glass Animals, kind of like chill, like Arctic Monkeys kind of thing. It's good song.
I mean, grades, if you're finding that you're still noticing the T's and the K's hitting hard still, maybe it's just time to bite the bullet and go through and edit each bit manually. You know, go through and actually check the audio and take it down in terms of just volume manipulation. It's tedious
you do it
as
enough
hell.
times, you do it enough times, you can literally like look at a audio vocal recording and see like, oh, there's an S, there's a T, like.
Yeah, it's not a fun activity to do. But I mean, if you're really finding that the tech itself isn't quite catching it, then you have to do it manually. It's old school and it works.
But it's all the fine details. It's the difference between like really high level producers and like mediocre producers is somebody who's willing to sit there for 4 hours and edit like the minuscule parts of vocal audio on like 14 tracks. So
I mean, the problem with transient shapers is they're annoying to configure on vocals sometimes.
It would have a higher chance of distorting your vocals really weirdly.
So I mean, oh damn, Evelyn's saying that the vocals on a track they've sent in took them 7 hours.
Nice. I respect that. I usually spend a lot of time on my vocals.
Stringy, you're asking where you are in the queue, and the problem is I'm not sure what your username is, because I've checked the queue and I haven't seen a Stringy submit, so maybe you've used a different artist name? Tempest, okay, you're not far off. Just a second. I think you're. Yeah, we've got kilnnova next, and then we got you, Tempest, real Stringy. You continue. Sorry, Bako.
Oh, I forgot what I was gonna say. I'm sure it was very important and wise.
Okay. So we got kilnnova next, unless we've had any other donations, which I don't think so. But the problem is this page doesn't just auto refresh. I have to manually do it. It's a
Oh,
bit-
someone submitted a TikTok. We can't do TikTok.
Well, I mean, it works in browser, so it might work.
Oh,
Let's
okay.
find out. Let's just find out. Okay,
go.
so first up we've got kilnnova with an Audius link. I know Isha's a big fan of Audius because they have lossless audio.
I gotta try that out.
I mean, most of my stuff's up on there. I can't remember if I put everything up on there, but oh well.
SoundCloud is pretty man to me, so and they always ask me for money.
So, this is Endless Nights by kilnnova. Damn. So I
That was
really enjoyed
awesome.
that. Did you have some interesting notes there, Becca?
Yeah, that was first of all, that was an awesome track. I really am an old school like trance and techno fan, so it totally fits my genre and style for instrumentals. And instrumentals are always very difficult to pull off because there's no vocals, and people always are looking at the vocals. And if you don't got them there, what are you gonna do? But you used really good use of the soundscape. You made like such great lush atmosphere. Like, oh, it was amazing. But the one thing that I really noticed was your dynamics were a little bit off. The quieter parts were louder than the loud parts. I think there's two things that are behind that. I think you need to automate your compression because you're probably compressing the loud part down, and which is causing the quiet parts to come up too much but you're keeping the same level of compression during the quiet parts when there's nothing loud to compress. And then the other thing is like maybe like ease up on the compression, and then I like to go after all of my processing is done. I actually will automate after the master, but like by a tiny bit. I'm talking like half a dB at most, in order to improve the dynamic range of the track as well. So that's some food for thought.
And also agree with the comments. Maybe a little bit more evolution in the drums. I think that the overall pacing and all the synth work is wonderful. It's very, very big and spacey. I also forgot to read out your comment because derp. You said I have a big passion for outer space. I tried to create this song using what my head feels when thinking about space, and hopefully emit that into the listener. This is definitely a very spacey track. Sort of like we're off on a little joyride in a spaceship kind of thing, or it's a moon buggy, and you're going across the moon rocks, and you're a stolen moon buggy, waiting for someone to come and tell you off for it, but you're having a good time in the meantime. It's a cool track. As far as the arrangement, there's only one point where I thought you could have. I'm gonna say make your track longer, which makes no sense. But it's like right after you got through the intro, and you had this moment where you sort of introduced your rolling bass, and I felt that you could have teased that moment out just ever so slightly longer. There was enough interest and spaciness there that you didn't have to just go straight into introducing the bass line, and you could have just 4, maybe 8 bars, just sort of tease this out, and then boom. I think that would have been really cool. But overall, I think there's very little to complain about with this track.
Yeah, it was really well done. And most of the time, people don't tell you to make it longer, especially with instrumental tracks. So good job.
So, thank you very much for that. The next one, I don't know if this will work. This is from Tempest, aka.
Also, hi, Alicia.
Hey, Isha, we love you. So this is a TikTok thing. It might not work. It might. I don't know. Go away.
We'll find out.
Let's find
Next
out.
up on Feedback and Friends.
Is this the right thing? Yes. All right.
Obviously, you couldn't resist saying hi to us.
Hi.
Oh.
I'm on a standby to think about shit. I'm on one love came back, one bitch gotta stay high. Don't think about it. This that lost love on my conscience. I'm on a standby to think about shit. I'm on one love came back, one bitch gotta stay high. Don't wanna think about it. This that lost love on my conscience. Lost love on my conscience.
Go away! No, stop TikTok. It's gonna keep playing on loop forever. So I mean, it's obviously a very, very short song as it stands. I mean, 1 minute and 7 seconds, but obviously some of that is just showing you composing the loop. Or no, it's producers flip this riff.
Oh, it's somebody else's riff. Okay. I see.
And then you've got to turn it into a song.
That means That means I can go get that. That's cool.
Maybe.
I'll check that out after.
God, it keeps autoplaying. I'm gonna just close that. Sorry.
Yeah, just close
it. Oh God.
It's TikTok. It will not stop trying to make you watch things.
Okay, so lesson learned. Just when you're finished with TikTok, just let it go. Leave it go. Boop. Oh, I was boop. Showing the search term Alicia. Hey, Alicia, I put you on YouTube.
In terms of feedback for the song, I think that you need to work on your drums a bit more. I'm not sure if it was just the TikTok or what, but I didn't hear anything except for the kick. I think I heard a snare at one point, which tells me that it was probably there, which is a bad thing. So I would play with the balance of your snare. Also, if it's on TikTok, I'm surprised that you put an intro on it. Like, oh, I guess it's their video. So
yeah, you plays a duet first, and then you chop it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of neat, like seeing how things were and now how things sound afterwards. I like that in some ways. It's just, yeah, TikTok makes it like brutal quality, to be honest. Yeah, it's
then
the same.
Throw it in mono, throw a high pass filter on it, and mix it that way. Because if that's where you're gonna be sending it, that's what you want it to sound good on.
I like using the phone test where I have a couple of smartphones these days. My old Sony has a mono speaker and it's sitting up there filming right now. It's literally one of the worst speakers in my house. So I actually sometimes chuck things in there and then go back and forth A/B testing as I go along with the mix down for something. I mean, obviously for something so short as well, it's really hard to judge whether it's what's worth giving feedback on in terms of arrangement, because there is a lot of variety in your track from what I've heard. But then it just sort of is just a little snippet for TikTok, and I feel like we're kind of
we're missing out.
Yeah,
where's the full track? You must have the full track.
I mean, or if you don't have a full track, make it a full track. Just go all out. I mean, even if you never release it officially, as an exercise, I think it'd be very good. And also, something, if you get ever DJ or whatever, you can just remix yourself, remix your remixes, and you've got something there as an exclusive. Effectively, it's all yours.
Or you can be like me and look back at your old music and horror and pretend it doesn't exist anymore.
That's all it's now, but I'd say keep going. See if you can flesh this out into a fully fledged song arrangement, because it is tonally interesting. Is it you on the vocals? Because I mean, obviously with the sample looks like it was just played the riff, so I assume the vocals are new. Yeah, it's you.
Nice.
Well, it's good. Let's leverage that.
Really good smooth vocals. If you know how to produce and make your own vocals, like you got it, man. Like just go with it, because there's so many vocalists that can't do that, and there's so many producers that can't sing. So like if you got both, run with it.
So that's really cool. Everything except the vocals being yourself. I mean, I'm all on board with
that's
that.
awesome.
The guitar, I mean. I can't speak anymore. Okay, next up we have another SoundCloud link with Telecan. Telecan. I mean, Telecan and Telebarbie. I'm sorry. This track is Beach Night. Let's go. It was lovely, absolutely lovely, that one. I mean, as far as beach night vibes, I mean, yeah, I think you nailed it. It's sort of like we're watching some sophisticated reality TV show where everyone's hanging out at a cocktail bar. And then
Yeah, I just vibed out to that.
and let's see, was there any specific feedback? Not necessarily. Any feedback is welcome. I guess maybe the mix. I want to know if the mix is any good. Did you think the mix was good?
I think the mix was good. I don't have a lot of criticism for it. You had really good dynamics. I really just zoned out and was listening to it, so I didn't. That's a good thing. Like you're
Pass the vibe check.
Yeah, you passed the vibe check.
And I didn't hear anything too weird either. I mean, so far everyone in the chat is just like, "Yep, this is nice." Evelyn says it's beautiful, and her track is the opposite of this, huh? And honestly, I think the whole track just vibed out.
It was good. It was just good. Like that's all. Like I think you're ready to like send that off to get the final touches done and maybe one last mix down in a master and slap that baby out there.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really recommend doing any more than thanks for sending it to us. It was good. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. I
Next
really like
up-
when I don't have anything to say about a track. So
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
yeah.
It's either that or we're just not used to this sort of sound. I mean, I think it was solid. So well done. Go
Yeah.
do it. Next up, we're going to get our ears blown out. I will probably turn the volume down slightly for this. Just give me a second. This
Okay.
is Evie in the chat. I believe this is a premiere of sorts for a new alias. So we'll see. Hopefully I don't destroy everyone. All right. Ready, everybody?
Oh yeah, I can see the sausage.
Yeah, sausage. Hersward Hex. Hersward. I'm gonna butcher everyone's names. That's gonna be my motif for tonight. Anyway, this is Hate V2. Oh, where's my mouse gone? There we go. am I going? Okay. Kilnnova, yeah, yours was just played. Prior to this. Boop boop. So, Hersword Hex, Hate V2. Well, it's an industrial track, which is apparent.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds a bit like it's like Combi Christ and that kind of corner of almost agrotech stuff, but it's slower, so it's not really agrotech at the same time. And it's sort of, everyone was saying it's screamo cyberpunk, which is a very good way of describing it. And
just forging new ground.
So I mean, actually, I generally really like this aesthetic. Sometimes it's interesting to me as well because it's like you're not meant to be able to understand every single word. It's kind of like just meant to be conveying the sheer anger and edge more than anything else. It's a mixture of agrotech and EBM. It definitely sounds about right. I mean, the overall balance I felt was fine, although, I mean, I do actually think Imagine had a good suggestion, but maybe not in the way he was intending it. A stronger side chain to the drums would sound nice and maybe help with movement and pump, but they also loved the raw sound. I think maybe if you're going to do that, it wouldn't be all the time. It would maybe just be in the final section. Go a little bit more ham with gates and side chaining, and just sort of have it get really sort of crazy in that regard.
Yeah, I could see that being cool.
I think that would be really effective for this track, where because it would ramp up the intensity without you having to add anything new to it. So I mean, but yeah, I mean, this one was really intense generally, and I could see a lot of people vibing with this, especially in Europe, where this industrial sound is very popular. I mean, I like the chat suggestion that a lot of Norwegians just lost their mind. Apparently, Zine's mother sounds like that, so that's frightening.
Yeah, well, I gotta get her to record me some vocals, is what I said.
Mother-in-law core, huh?
Mother-in-law. Yeah. But yeah, this is outside of my normal wheelhouse, so I'm not really sure what to do with the mix, other than like I think certain points you should look at like mixing and automating the different sections, because I noticed the vocals dropped out for some of them, and that might be intentional. I'm not sure about the genre, but yeah, it was pretty cool. Also the ARP at the beginning was too long. Maybe change it or do something, make it shorter, or like I don't think the section was too long. It was just the ARP was just the same thing for too long.
Maybe just stack a couple of harmonic notes on top occasionally. That might shake it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Polyphonic ARP rather than a monophonic.
Or like move them around in the stereo space.
So, but either way, I think that overall it worked. It was cool. But it's also why I let a 5-minute 52 track play through. I'm posting the. I just want. Darn it! Come on. So next up is Zine. Now, Zine is apparently rising from the grave because of me hosting. So, hello Zine, thank you for submitting. They've said, this is not my proudest piece of art, but Isha isn't here to roast it. I mean, she might be hanging out in the chat, you're just inviting her now.
Yeah.
So anyway, so she's decided that we're good. And if it's car advertisement music, tell me why, lol. I mean, you've been moving away from that. I mean, it might not be, but let's find out. It's a YouTube video, so we'll see how that works. Alright. Ready? This is Go with Nathaniel. Okay, I assume it's not actually called that. Okay, so at the start, I thought, okay, this isn't advertising music. It could actually be building up into something. And then you added the guitar. And it's not the guitar that's the problem here. It's the fact that it's all open chords on your guitar.
Yeah.
It's
And
like
you're also not resolving your chord progression, so it's the music that can go on endlessly, and that's the kind of music they use in advertising.
because there's no real pitch or climax to an advert.
Yeah.
So
I was like, yeah, I get part way through, and I'm just like, yep, advertising music, I can see that.
the thing is, you were so close. You were so close.
Yeah.
And then there was a moment again where you kind of got to your first guitar section, and then you went to another guitar section, and you started introducing tension again. And I was like, okay, maybe you do know what you're doing here, somewhat. And then you went right back to the advertising music stuff. I mean, there's a video.
I would just really look at, the chord progressions and just find something that like has a resolution.
I mean, I don't want to be mean. I think that there's a video you should go look at. I think it's another one by I like his content, Tantacruel. It's about people doing covers of Hallelujah by what's his face? Tantacruel. See if I can find it in chat. Yeah. Anyway, he talks mainly about bad covers of Hallelujah and what's wrong with those covers in his view. Now obviously it's very subjective, but it might help you as a sort of guide of what not to do, to work out what you might want to try to do afterwards. You know, sometimes I find that personally quite useful. And in this case, obviously there's a lot of people covering guitar. It's a very guitar focused video, and so I maybe have a watch of that and hear what these people doing the kind of bad covers are doing, and then do the opposite of that. You know, like say like it gives you a better understanding of what makes an instrument interesting or bland. And guitar is a very hard one as well to get right with programming.
Yeah, especially if you're programming it yourself.
Yeah, like the guitar is annoying. Especially
guitars. I got pianos down now, but guitars are definitely a struggle for me sometimes.
So I mean, I think, yeah, I'd take a look at how you program guitar chords to make them, because when they're open chords, they're kind of just boring, and you can't do that much with them. But once you start implementing your augmented chords and your suspended chords properly with a guitar, then the magic happens, and you're very close, I think, with some of your areas of this track. But it's a case of just managing your energy levels, because right now it is kind of all the same energy level, and then you have your build up, and then it's back to being major happy again. Yeah,
there's not a lot of dynamics in terms of like the different sections. But one thing I will say is you are good. Like your drums are really nice.
Yeah, I mean, like you are improving as well. I've heard your previous stuff. This is the least close to advertising music for a good chunk of it. So it's you know, positive progression. Definitely don't, you know, keep going and seeing if you can just experiment more. You know, push the boundaries. Don't care about whether you put a wrong note in or something. Just do it anyway and see what happens. And then if it still sounds bad, just keep going. You know, until you do get it to sound nice.
Yeah, it's the same person. I just pulled up the same video as you were suggesting from Tentacruel.
Yeah,
because that's exactly the kind of music.
So everyone's loving it, really. So this is Kushao, and I hope you're watching. I thought you were not in the queue, but you are in the queue. You're next. So I did ping you earlier. Anyway, this is Kushao, Rose in My Chest .mp3. Let's have a go. And yeah, thanks for sharing, Zine. You know, I did enjoy it, really. I just found it also slightly amusing.
It was good. If you're just not going for advertising music, you need to work on it a bit. But if you're going for advertising music, like, you got a bright career.
You might be the world's greatest sync licensing producer ever. Alright, Kasha, Rose in My Chest. So, I feel. I mean, it wasn't negative calling it a mashup. I feel. I mean, those are definitely not your original vocal samples, and they definitely don't sound like they're unspliced. I'm sure I recognized a couple of bits here or there as well. And there's nothing wrong with a mashup. It's just we're a little bit paranoid that the Twitch police will go yeah, or YouTube will like nope, and they might, but I don't know. We'll find out, I suppose. It's too late now.
Yeah, because you guys got a strike last week too. It's 3 strikes and you're out, right?
I mean, I don't know whether it's a strike or a YouTube report was like, YouTube claim, because that's a thing that happens too.
Getting them claimed is fine, because that just means they'll take the revenue from it or mute it.
Yeah, I'm not sure entirely what the situation was last week entirely, but I guess we'll find out whether we get in trouble or not.
Well, fingers crossed.
But I mean, I think the problem with the mashup as a concept is it can be hard to regulate the energy levels for it when everything you've already started extracting vocals from. I mean, it definitely sounds like they're extracted from a master track that's already in existence, so they're already pretty loud, and then you've had to cut around them, which makes it difficult to fill them back out. And
you can't unmaster a track.
And you can't unmaster a track. So it's just hard for me to judge it in terms of arrangement as well, because obviously I mean you are definitely trying to create a story, a narrative with the samples that you've chosen, but at the same time, because of the way it's produced, it's hard to tell what everyone is saying. So I don't really feel like I'm getting the full context of what it is you're trying to do here, which is a shame, because obviously that's not your intention at all. And I don't know, have you ever tried to do something of this sort in your 4 to 8 hours of producing a day for a year?
I mostly just completely make like straight copies of songs if I'm gonna do them. I don't really try to mash things up. Mainly because you can't unmaster a track, and it's like I already have like a hate on for 808s personally when I'm mixing and mastering, because people always limit the crap out of them before they give them to me, and it makes it way more difficult to deal with. And the same thing is true when you're trying to do mashup types of things. But for the arrangement and stuff, I think it was pretty good. I really wanted the initial groove to just go through the whole song. Like, that was a really cool, funky groove I was feeling, and then it just sort of wandered around. And that's one of the really hard things to do with mashups, is make sure that there's like a clear, like linear, like path that people can follow with their mind, because otherwise you just sort of like jump from one place to another. It feels like you're falling through a portal from one party to another, and it's very weird.
It's a good way of describing it. I mean, maybe that's a movie sequence in the making.
Yeah.
Oh,
be a good music video, actually.
Yeah.
For a mashup.
I'm surprised it hasn't been done. I don't think it's been done yet. I've never seen it.
Yeah, there you go. Free idea.
Free idea.
If you steal it and make lots of money, you have to give me a sandwich. That's the only thing I ever ask of anybody who wins lots of money.
Sounds like a good deal to me. Bargain. So, next up we've got DJ Sal, Industrial Power. So that was a short and sweet industrial techno-y track. That was. I agree with one of the comments. Imagine said that it could do with more sub in the drop, and
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't have the benefits of a sub pack or anything super fancy in that regards, but I mean, there was definitely a lot of that lower sub range that was missing from your kick, and but I
You
think
might want to try a different sample.
maybe or figuring out to stitch a couple together. If you use a bit of well, a gate or transient shaping or whatever, you can kind of manipulate sounds however you feel like and chop them up and whatever else, and it would
If
definitely
you have able. Oh, go ahead. Sorry,
You go ahead.
interrupting you.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to layer your own samples together. I have a whole video on it if you look at my information and stuff. So
Maybe link it in the chat if you can, or your channel, or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
But the top of the kick does sound good. It just needs more on the bottom, and needs a big fat bass. Also I liked the kazooie lead. Blah 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 blah. Losing my
Words.
mind tonight, apparently. Yeah, I mean, the fact that you kept it short and sweet, you didn't let any element overstay their welcome. What are words? I don't know. And it's actually a high-pitched 808. Well, that's really cool. It works really well. It's quite a unique and distinct sound. I think the hard thing as well, though, is if you're going to be trying to improve the bass response to this track, is obviously the way you've mastered it right now likely won't work. You'll have to tweak it slightly, because right now it's already redlining massively. I had to turn it down a little bit, and it was still yellow on OBS and everywhere else. And right now, obviously, you'll have to look at that again if you're going to fix the bass levels. But so turn all that off and then redo your processing chain for the end of the master afterwards, so that you're not distorting everything, because that's always a risk too.
Yeah. And that awkward moment when we're both waiting for the other person to talk. Gotta love it. Yes. I mean, like, I love the old school industrial house stuff. It reminds me of being a kid back in the day. Definitely being a responsible adult and going to bed early. But yeah, it's a pretty good track. I always want these tracks to be a lot longer. But again, you basically kept the elements at the right level in terms of like bringing them in and out. But I definitely agree. You just want to like work on the low end and maybe get a different kick sample. You can just like listen to some really good industrial house that you like, and like just pull the samples off of them and use that video that I showed you, and you can like layer them together and squash them into one kick, and then you have a bunch of super kicks. And that thing also, if you have Ableton, has like a thing in it, and it will like, you put in 12 different samples, I think it is, and it comes out with like 128 different varieties of kick, and you just pick which ones are good and throw the rest away.
That's useful.
Yeah,
I certainly don't have access to anything like that right now. I do it all manually.
You could do it in any. You could do it in any DAW. I've just done the main work is just the MIDI that like does the combination of all the different ones. Is like was a pain in the ass to program, but other than that, it's not too hard.
That's pretty cool. So next up we have Sour Dust V2. I got FL. I'm sure there's a way to do it in FL as well. FL's pretty good for sample management.
As long as you have a sampler that can play more than one thing at once.
Right. So it's Dust V2 by Sour. Thank you for sending this in, and thank you for watching, everybody. It is, yeah. lovely and relaxing there. I really enjoyed that one. I also
Yeah, that
found
was really chill.
I found some of the comments interesting as well. I imagine was saying, "I want a clap at least in the second drop," and then immediately a clap came in, and it was very subtle and nice and just the right spot. Everyone seems to be really enjoying that one. The ambience is the chef's kiss, and so spicy, so vibey and spacey. Spivey, vibey, libber, libber. Libber, 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 libber. I can't speak anymore.
Words, you can use them. I believe in
Brain,
you.
what is brain?
How do speak?
So, Bako, were you, did you end up taking any notes, or were you vibing out entirely for the whole time?
I was vibing out, but I was still paying attention. That was like really good vibes. I think that's the direction I'm gonna wind up going in music, because I was trying to make trance music, but I just can't seem to do it right. So now I'm just headed in. Everything I make sounds like house, so I'm just like, well, I might as well make house. But this is like the super like kind of chill vibe that I really really like. The one thing I definitely really highly commend you on is your attention to detail and how many little things there are, especially that ARP. I love that little like that changes the that's changing the speed, or I guess what would that be? That'd be like the release of the
filter probably
of the filter. Yeah, it was just like so like, yeah, it was awesome. And then it was panning around your stereos field. It was awesome. So good track. In terms of things that I would improve with it, I think like maybe a little bit more high percussion. The top end feels a little bit like there's not a ton there, and I would slap Soothe on it because Soothe makes everything better. And that I know Nathaniel was saying that the high end I think it was a guitar, but it was like kind of distorted and it sounded like a squeaking noise.
And there was a suggestion of someone said they should add a bed squeak like Jersey Club, and I was like, please no, because I hate that sound.
Oh yeah, okay.
But yes, I am biased against Jersey Club, and you can't do anything about it. If anyone submits it, I will destroy you.
Be warned.
Be warned. But for me, I think that if you were going to add any high-end elements, your synths in places as you got higher up with the filters actually sounded a bit like a cowbell already. So maybe just add cowbell. That can be your high-end.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah. Maybe even model one entirely after your synths. Turn your synth into a cowbell.
I've never done that before. I've made snares and hats and drums and bongos and all kinds of stuff, but I've never done cowbell. I should try that.
Yeah, it'd be fun. But yeah, I enjoyed that one. Thank you for submitting it. And your mix is generally fine. The melodies and the arrangement also fine. Basically, it's just adding that extra little bit of glitter. I don't think anyone can argue with a result like that. So, next up, we have Chris Tate. I don't know whether you're watching right now, but I'll just load up your thing. Let's see what you have. Any ideas to make it a bit more interesting or keep the listener more engaged? With also maybe some specific suggestions for different ear candy to use. I'm sorry I don't have the ear candy animation. I'll have to grab that off Isha. Alright, this is Solid State by Tate Cello.
What about making yours?
SoundCloud, evil SoundCloud.
Oh, I have to pay for things. I can't handle advertisements.
That was even just advertising. It was just autoplay to a WA production.
Oh.
Free Future Bass Mega Pack.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's definitely an original track, I'm sure.
And I'm
Oh,
sure
is it-
it
oh,
blew
yeah,
our minds.
it's WA Productions. I wonder why we're getting the same advertisements. Did you use that specific brand of samples?
I
maybe?
think it's
That's
just
interesting.
whoever whatever people have liked and reposted nearby.
Ah, yeah.
I don't know. Ear candy. Any thoughts on ear candy for this track? Any cool ideas in your head right now while you were listening?
Before you get worried about ear candy, I think you need more elements to the track. But yeah, in terms of ear candy, just like using more of the stereo field, and just sprinkling things in across the entire track, because a lot of it winds up being really samey, which is cool if it's like playing in the background and you're having dinner in a restaurant or something like that. But if you want to grab people's attention, you really need to like do something to like reach out and grab them, and like having really good chord progressions, really good melodic leads. I would also double check your unless if the dissonance is on purpose, but I know some of the melodic elements were dissonant to my ears.
I mean, it
So,
sounded
let me check.
jazzy to me more than anything else. I think there's a lot of jazz influence with this piece.
Yeah, maybe that makes sense. Then maybe they're just playing the ninths and the 11ths in the wrong spot instead of at the top. Oops, whacking things.
Maybe. I mean, it's also a case sometimes as well, even if you're playing the right notes, because it's all synthesizers and they can kind of all occupy the same space, you could end up with being some unintentional mixing clashes, effectively.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And it's creating a harmonic resonance that's just in the wrong place. Let's see, what else? I mean, I like the funky bass line. I think that was a...
Yeah, I really like that bass line, was good.
I mean, perhaps the thing with the intro, rather than leaving it so sparse, would be to use something like white noise or something, so that as your bass pulses in, it gates the noise, and sort of you end up with these sweeps, subtle sweeps in the background there. So it's like boom, and then you can get crazy with like reverby and chorusy stuff on that sort of thing without having to add more melodic elements. That would be fun, I think. Otherwise, it's basically just seeing how big you can make everything sound. I think the more harmonic, like more layers kind of stacking on top of each other, doing similar things, but slightly different things, you can make it sound a really, really big vibe. Like you got a sort of pseudo organ sound in there too. But because it's kind of just sitting there in the center channel by itself doing one thing, it's not a very dynamic sound. But you can still keep that and have that be the core layer of that sound, and then have other things bubbling away around it. And that could be cool. But I've not really generally tried to make funky bass music, and I think it's always cool whenever somebody does.
Yeah, he's saying that he's a jazz bassist and deliberately put the dissonance in there. Okay, yeah, fair enough. If it's an artistic choice, then that's what it is. So my brain picks it out really fast. So.
So there we go, funky bass music from Tate Cello. Thank you for sending that in. That was cool. And now we've got longtime user Imagine with Be Mine V3. So, I remember the last version, not 100% detail, obviously, but I mean, this sounds so good.
Yeah, this is excellent.
I mean, I was enjoying the vibe, and you didn't overuse the vocal sample, and I mean, everything sounded relatively balanced. And I don't know whether anyone else had any comments in the chat, because I mean, so far everyone was just like, "Yeet, let's go." Sorry, just J Circ Nation. Unfortunately, I closed the queue due to work commitments around here. So we got 2 more after this, I think. Yes. And we will be back in a couple of weeks with the feedback and friends. Also, if anyone wants to join me, then I will try taking on 2 people next week. Not next week, week after. Next week is the ILBC Bristol Lost Horizons live event. It'll be exciting and fun. I'm going to be there too, so yay! Yeah, so Feedback and Friends won't be on next week, but the week after. And yeah, anyone who wants to join me, DM me on Discord or Twitter. Nathaniel Wyvern, same username in both locations. But yeah, so far,
I'm not specially qualified for this. I just asked him.
And well, it's not really about qualifications. It's about, do you vibe with the musics, and do you want to come and have fun and have a stable enough internet connection, I suppose. Because this is quite intense, yeah. But thank you, Imagine. I can't really suggest anything worth improving on that. I think you've nailed it. This is release ready.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's really, really good. I am following you now, so.
Way connection. That's always cool. So, yeah, Meichi is saying expect to hear more church burning music and more ad music. We might get more of that, especially if Evie and Zine continue submitting. So we've got
we get
2
a
more.
wide variety of music on this show.
Oh yeah, it's great. I love
really like it. Yeah.
It's my favorite thing. Yeah, we've got 2 more tracks. We've got Thin Air coming up now. So I'll tag them as well. Thin Air, you're up. I think they went to make lunch. But oh well, they've got timestamps, ping. Way. Yours is not a house trap. It's fine, we'll purr. Love it anyway. It'll be good. Old School 2, Thin Air beats. So, this is obviously definitely calling for someone to be rapping over it. It's an old school beat, and it's everything kind of generally sits where it needs to be. Although I think maybe you need to EQ your reverb on the high end elements a bit, because while they were the right level of washed out in places, they also felt a little bit like it was building up a resonance curve that wasn't so pleasant to listen to. Because you got such a smooth backdrop going on that you need everything to be smooth, and it's mainly in the keys area that I was thinking that needs to be done. because those are very sort of short and stabby keys, and you don't want the everything about them to be reverbed into oblivion, because it just sounds mush and a little bit harsh, and that's not so fun. But it was a very vibey, definitely old school beat. I can imagine plenty of rappers being totally happy hopping on a beat like that.
Yeah, this sounds like a really good demo track that you should be firing out to vocalists. Just have it on like a little card or something, or make a link tree, and just here, if you like this, sing to it, and I'll make it into a track.
Yeah, get some collaborations going.
Yeah.
So I mean, did anyone else have any interesting thoughts for this one? I mean, people were asking about the cover art, but I mean, yeah, I wasn't disappointed about.
Yeah, that was me. I'm an artist, so I always notice things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell it's like something from somewhere sort of thing. I mean, I don't think your mix down was terrible here. I mean, I was definitely waiting for the bass to come in when it came in, but at the same time, if you can find a nice bassy vocalist in that intro to sort of just hop on immediately and start spitting bars, it'll work rather well, I think.
Yeah, it's hard to sort of judge the mix because I think it's intentionally left open for a vocalist, unless if you were trying to fill everything, then
you need something more lead-like.
You need something more, yeah.
But yeah, it was cool so far, and this is the last track of the night. I don't know how you pronounce the U with the little accents on the top.
No, the mu thingy? Oh.
The U, the bush. I was in English. If it's just bushloft, but I feel like it's probably closer to a. I don't know, something. I'm not good with foreign languages. I'm sorry. Anyway, bushloft. Seasons changing. This is our final track for tonight. Bushloft. Maybe. You're probably right. Anyway, seasons changing. This is our last track for tonight. Thank you everybody for joining us, and sorry that it's a little bit shorter than usual, but if you'd like to join me in 2 weeks on Feedback and Friends, I will be hosting again. I'll hopefully make some improvements while I'm going on doing that as well, and I have the capacity to test having 2 people on with me next time. So if you would like that to be you, DM me on Twitter or Discord at Nathaniel Wyvern, and if you've got discord.gg/EDMP, you'll be able to join our server if you're not already there. And we've really enjoyed having you on. Thank you so much, Bako, for joining me this evening.
Thank you for having me. Sorry that I'm cutting it short. I did set aside the time, but work is calling me and it won't stop.
It's okay. I mean, we still lasted over 2 hours, which is pretty good. So let's go. Last track, and we'll give you our thoughts, and then I will say goodbye to Baku and give you guys a final rundown of next week's event. Thank you. Let's go. I unmuted myself again. That was a lovely way to close out the night.
Yeah.
And
what a great track.
Some bush. I'm sorry.
You can't say it. Don't keep saying it wrong.
I say everything wrong. Bushloft.
Bushloft.
Bush. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I agree. It could be a little bit more mastered, I suppose. But it was a really nice lo-fi vibe, and it definitely sounded like, if you weren't sampling, it sounded like you were sampling in a good way. And if you were sampling, you managed to gel everything together really well. Like, either way, I don't think there's a complaint about the aesthetic here. It's actually a really well-rounded production. And also, it was interesting enough and ear candy enough that I actually was happy having it on there and keeping on going. Obviously, with these sort of tracks, it is, you're not meant to be necessarily 100% active, engaged listening with this sort of track.
You're supposed to be studying, I think. I think that's how lo-fi works, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I would study to this if I had any more coursework to do. And if that's your photo as well in the album art, that's a really cool photo too. And I think it definitely captures the vibe quite well. Like, you could see this sitting outside your window and the storm's sort of coming in, but it's not here yet, and it's still kind of that chill period, and the flowers are all nice and pretty, and yeah, I think it is a really, really good vibe. Airlift, you were asking to friend me. You can DM me without friend requesting, right? But I think I DM'd you, maybe. I mean, I tried. So if I pinged the wrong person, I'm very sorry. But I mean, any thoughts there? Anything you would improve, Bako, before we go?
It's always really hard to judge with like heavily low pass filtered things, because it, like, the mix is just so wonky in terms of like where you want things. I think like the bass, sometimes the kick was like hitting the limiter a little bit too hard, but like that was about all I could really pick out. There was one thing that I did notice though, is that the tape hiss is in my left ear mostly, and it kind of made me feel a little bit lopsided, because it's pretty much present through the whole thing. So maybe like pan that a little bit to the right, but that's about it.
Why wouldn't I be friends with you? I just turn friend requests off, because when you hang out in all sorts of random servers, people don't understand. They can just not friend you and still talk to you, and I got loads of spam.
Don't feel bad. He hasn't even friended me yet, so. I
did actually just fix that.
Oh.
Making me feel guilty now.
Yeah, that was my goal.
I'm also, I find the use of tape effects as well interesting, because sometimes I feel like you don't need to do it for the whole track.
Yeah.
And, you can sort of just have it in the intro and have it in the outro, and people just imagine they heard it the rest of the time. Those sort of white noisy sounds become subliminal anyway. So you could sort of free up a little bit more space for yourself to do other stuff if you don't have it there the whole time. And especially with this sort of beat focused things, I mean, there are plenty of other sounds that can fit that same niche. They got environmental Foley. I mean, like if this little photo here of like the clouds coming in and whatnot, you could have that as your Foley. Find a sample on Freesound, great website, and of like rain in the distance, or the sort of slight hint that there is thunder in it, but you turn it way down, just sort of really, really subtle, and you wash it out with some reverb, and then suddenly you've got something that's kind of like white noise but isn't white noise, and it's kind of like the tape sound but it's not the tape sound. And I mean, vinyl sounds work too, but the problem with vinyl sounds is they can be a little bit overdone, because everyone's using vinyl sounds. If you can find something a little bit more unique and process that into the similar territory, then you can kind of make it stand out a little bit more. You can kind of show off your taste and your curation ability, because I think that's the other thing with anything this sort of sample beats type thing. Why not run a Rain Sounds vocoder? You've got the run of every effects plugin in existence near enough. You can experiment, and it can be very subtle, or it can be very overblown. And obviously with this, you want low key. I mean, it was a cool track to end on, so thank you for that. And I'm not going to butcher your name again. I'm sorry. So thank you again to Bakobiibizo for...
Thank you very much for having me.
It's been a pleasure having you on, and I hope that your work doesn't get too mad at you.
Oh, it should be fine. It's an unexpected problem that's come up, and I just have to go. So.
So I mean, if you'd like to leave now, I'm going to brief everyone on just making sure everyone's aware what's happening next week. The last 15 people watching. So have a good night. It's been beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you all. Hope you all have yourselves an excellent day.
You too. Okay. So, one more thing before we go. Everyone's asking people to friend request each other, and that's all very nice. And I hope I pinged the right person. I don't know. Airlift, if you'd make a chat in the events channel as well, then I will make sure I'm actually speaking to the right person. So, next week, there will be no feedback in Friends, I regret to inform you. And that is for a very important reason. ILBC will be live for the first beat challenge in Bristol in a venue called Lost Horizon, which looks kind of cool. I've been looking at their models and stuff. And they recently announced the 5 contestants who will be competing in 2 sort of specific little rounds. They're like micro sets. The first is going to be with some sort of challenge conditions, which I have personally not been aware of, so it'll be a surprise for me and probably for the contestants too. They'll probably find out on the night. It'll be very interesting, exciting. And I'm just going to remind everyone who they are. If I load up the Instagram, I don't know whether it'll work, but Instagram.com. It might ask me to log in. Is it? Yes. Bop. Only yeah. I don't go away. Okay, so we should be able to see them here. Yeah, it will all be live streamed, which is why I thought it'd be useful to mention it here. So if we look in my little window here, you got Off Peak, Drum, Ashcat, and Beelzebub, and Daniel McPhee. And ooh, there's been a new post, and it won't let me view it. What does that new post say? I don't know. Anyway, there were also a few showcase acts, including Isha and Matt Black from Cold Cut, among a few other people. I don't know whether there's any new acts to be announced or not, but either way, it's going to be an entire night of live electronic performance, and I think it's going to be incredibly cool. So I would appreciate you telling your friends and getting everyone to tune in here if you can't make it. So they'll be starting between 7 and 8 p.m. on Wednesday night next week, and that's GMT, UK time. So there'll also be announcements as we go along on the ILBC Instagram, the Twitter, and we'll likely ping people on the server too to come tune in. It'll be fun. And then Feedback and Friends will return in the week after that with myself hosting and up to 2, maybe maybe we'll get adventurous and we'll have a third person on as well, so 4 people in total if you really want to. Either way, ping me on Twitter or Discord. You don't have to friend me to DM me, it just works. DMs work. Yeah, you can come join me. That is the 13th, Wednesday the 13th of July. Now, because I am working that day, any testing, if you get your notice in now for wanting to join me, we will do a bit of preliminary testing beforehand, probably on the Tuesday the 12th. So make sure all the tech works and that you're actually coming through okay. So thank you everybody for joining us this evening. I hope you all have a wonderful night, whatever you may be doing, and goodbye. Boop.